Have you ever had a day where everything goes wrong? The kind of day that starts with a jolt of panic and only seems to get worse? A day where one small mistake, one moment of bad luck, feels like it could unravel your entire life. We've all been there. But what if that single catastrophic moment wasn't an ending, but a beginning? What if the very thing you thought would ruin you was actually the key to unlocking a future you could never have imagined? This is a story about that exact possibility. It's the story of a waitress who was late for work and how that one simple failure changed her life forever. Our story begins not with a grand event, but with the deafening silence of a broken alarm clock. For Clara, a waitress whose life was a carefully constructed fortress against financial disaster, this silence was the first crack in the wall. Every dollar was counted, every shift was crucial. Being on time wasn't just a professional courtesy, it was a matter of survival. But on this Tuesday morning, fate, in the form of a cheap plastic clock, had other plans. She woke up in a cold sweat, the sun already high in the sky, a full 45 minutes after her shift at the bustling downtown diner was supposed to have started. The panic was a physical thing, a cold dread that washed over her as she threw on her uniform, a faded black polo and apron that smelled faintly of coffee and grease. The drive to work was a blur of red lights and frantic apologies rehearsed under her breath. Clara wasn't a slacker. She was the opposite. She was the one who picked up extra shifts, who stayed late to help clean, who always had a smile for the grumpiest of customers. Her job at the Greasy Spoon wasn't a career, but it was her lifeline. It paid the rent on her tiny apartment and helped chip away at the mountain of student debt she'd acquired for a degree she never had time to use. Being late wasn't just a mistake. It was a betrayal of the one rule she lived by: be reliable. When she finally burst through the diner's back door, breathless and disheveled, she was met with the furious glare of her manager, a man named Sal whose patience was as thin as the diner's paper napkins. His words were sharp, a verbal lashing delivered in a low hiss so the customers wouldn't hear. He spoke of final warnings, of irresponsibility, of the line of people who would kill for her job. Every word was a hammer blow to Clara's already fragile composure. She stood there, head bowed, accepting the tirade, her mind racing. This was it. This was how she lost everything. Because of a stupid alarm clock. Sal finished his rant with a pointed finger towards the dining room. "You're on thin ice, Clara. One more screw-up and you're gone. Now get out there, and you can take table 7. No one else wants it." Table 7. It was the pariah of the diner. Tucked away in a dark, forgotten corner by the drafty kitchen doors, it was where solo diners who looked like they wouldn't tip well were often seated. And sitting there today was the reason no server wanted it. He was an old man, hunched and frail, dressed in clothes that looked like they'd seen better decades. His hair was thin and wispy, his face a road map of wrinkles. He hadn't ordered anything. He just sat there, nursing a single glass of water, staring out the window. The other waitresses had actively avoided him, their eyes gliding past his table as if he were invisible. He was, in the cruel calculus of the service industry, a waste of time, a non-tipper, a charity case. For Clara, on any other day, this might have been a frustrating but manageable part of the job. But today, with Sal's threats echoing in her ears, serving this man felt like a punishment, a final test designed for her to fail. Her mind screamed at her to be quick, to be efficient, to move on to a table that might actually pay her rent. But as she approached, something stopped her. It was the look on his face. A profound, bone-deep loneliness that seemed to radiate from him. He wasn't just an old man in shabby clothes. He was a person, being deliberately ignored by a room full of people. And in that moment, Clara made a choice. What was one more unprofitable action? She walked over to table 7, not with the rushed, forced smile of a server on probation, but with a genuine warmth that seemed to surprise the old man. His gaze shifted from the window to her, and for the first time, she saw his eyes. "Hi there," she said softly. "Sorry for the wait. It's been one of those mornings. Can I get you a refill on that water, or maybe a hot cup of coffee to warm you up? It's on me." The offer was small, almost insignificant. A free coffee was technically against the rules, a few dollars out of the diner's pocket, or more likely, her own. But the man's reaction was anything but small. A flicker of surprise, then something else. Appreciation. He nodded slowly. Coffee would be nice, he rasped, his voice rough from disuse. Thank you. As she went to get the coffee, she could feel Sal's eyes burning into her back. She was wasting time. She was giving away product. She was breaking the rules. But when she returned with the steaming mug and placed it in front of the man, the small, grateful smile he gave her felt more valuable than any tip. She didn't rush off. Instead, she leaned in slightly and asked, "Are you all right? You look like you've got the weight of the world on your shoulders." The old man looked at her, truly looked at her for a long moment. "Something like that," he finally said. "It's a heavy thing, the world." They fell into a quiet conversation. He didn't say much about himself, but he asked about her. He asked about her day, and she found herself telling him the truth about the alarm clock, her panic, her fear of being fired, and he listened patiently, his gaze never wavering. She noticed his coat was threadbare, not nearly enough for the chilly autumn wind outside. On her next trip from the kitchen, she brought him a bowl of the day's soup, a hearty tomato bisque. "Sal will kill me," she whispered with a conspiratorial wink, "but you look like you could use this more than he could, so don't worry about it." He didn't protest. He just picked up the spoon and began to eat, slowly, deliberately. When he was finished, he looked up at her, his tired eyes now holding a different light, a clarity. "Tell me something, Clara," he said, his voice stronger now. "Why were you kind to me? Everyone else in this place has looked through me like I'm a ghost. You're on the verge of being fired, yet you've given me your time, a coffee, and a bowl of soup. Why?" Clara paused, thinking for a moment. "I don't know," she said honestly. "I guess my mom always taught me that your character isn't defined by how you treat the people who can help you, but by how you treat the people who can't. You looked like you needed a little bit of kindness. And my day was already a disaster. What's the harm in making someone else's a little better?" The old man nodded, a slow, deep nod of understanding. He reached into his pocket and pulled out a worn leather wallet. Clara expected him to pull out a few crumpled dollar bills. Instead, he laid a crisp, black business card on the table. It was heavy, made of a material she'd never felt before. On it, in simple, elegant silver lettering, were three things: a name, Arthur Harrison, a title, founder and chairman, and the name of a global investment firm she'd only ever seen on the news. Clara stared at it, confused. I don't understand," she stammered. "For the past 6 months," Mr. Harrison said, his voice now steady and commanding, a complete transformation from the frail old man, "I have been visiting establishments like this one all over the country. I've been dressing like this, saying very little, ordering almost nothing. I've been conducting an experiment. I wanted to see if anyone at all, still saw a human being, or if they only saw a balance sheet. If kindness was still an instinct, or if it had become a transaction." He let that sink in. The diner noise around them seemed to fade away. "In 6 months in dozens of cities, you are the first person who has passed my test. The only one. You were late, you were stressed, you were threatened, and you still chose to be decent. You chose to see a person." He pushed the card towards her. "My driver is waiting outside. My foundation has a new initiative to find and fund people who have more character than they do capital, people like you. My office will be calling you tomorrow. Don't worry about Sal. In fact, I think I'll buy this diner. My first order of business will be to give the new manager a significant raise." He smiled, a genuine, warm smile. "Your lateness this morning, Clara, wasn't bad luck. It was an appointment, and you were right on time." This story is more than just a fairy tale about a waitress and a billionaire. It's a profound exploration of what we truly value. This is a perfect example of the butterfly effect, where one small, seemingly insignificant event, a broken alarm clock, creates a ripple that fundamentally changes the entire course of a life. Clara's failure to be on time was the prerequisite for her success. Had she been on time, another waitress would have ignored Mr. Harrison. Her mistake wasn't a bug in the system of her life, it was a feature. It was the catalyst. Furthermore, this story forces us to confront our own biases. How do we treat the invisible people in our society? The elderly person taking too long in the checkout line, the janitor cleaning the floors we walk on, the homeless person we hurry past on the street. Mr. Harrison's test was a brilliant, if eccentric, social experiment. He was searching for authentic human decency, a currency far more rare and valuable than money. Clara's kindness wasn't performative. It was offered to someone she believed had absolutely nothing to offer in return. That is the definition of character. Clara's story is a testament to the idea that the universe often has a plan for us that is far grander than the one we have for ourselves. Our greatest moments of redirection often come disguised as rejection or failure. Clara's lateness wasn't a cosmic punishment, it was a cosmic realignment. So, what happened to Clara? As promised, Arthur Harrison's office called. But Clara didn't just take a handout. With the resources and mentorship Mr. Harrison provided, she went back to school and finished her degree in business management. She then used a significant portion of the funds to purchase the greasy spoon from Sal and several other struggling diners just like it. She transformed them. She implemented fair wages, benefits, and profit sharing for all employees. And every single night for the last hour of service, each of her diners converts into a community kitchen, offering free, hot, dignified meals to anyone who needs one. She didn't just accept a fortune, she used it to build a legacy of the very kindness that started it all. She remembered what it was like to be one broken alarm clock away from disaster, and she dedicated her new life to building safety nets for others. It teaches us that our lowest moments can be the foundation for our highest achievements. It proves that kindness is never, ever a waste of time. The next time you feel like your world is falling apart because of one small mistake, remember Clara. You might just be getting redirected to where you truly need to be.